Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome. It's Nurse Richard the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me. Interesting first ear in this, and a bit of a tricky second one, both from different patients, so a little bit of a compilation. Now, you might have seen this ear before if you've been watching the channel for a while, and it's of a lady who comes to see me every 6 months or so, and she has a chronic trouble in this. And if you want to go and find the previous episodes, they'll usually be called false fundus or something like that, because that's what this lady has. And if you're wondering what that is, what's caused it in this lady was she had a lot of problems when she was younger. I think she's in her 70s now, thereabouts, and she had a lot of ear infections, perforations. And they tried to do some surgery. They tried to do a graft on her eardrum to replace it because it wouldn't heal this particular perforation she had years ago. And I think they tried twice, and it failed. It didn't take, and it's still chronically irritated as well, as you can probably see from all this dryness around the outside of it. And what has happened is she's got a false fundus, which is it's like a fibrous tissue in response to all this trauma. So it's not the eardrum that you can see in the distance. It's kind of as a response to irritation. This fibrous tissue has been created, and it's like a shorter ear canal than it used to be. Doesn't hear very much out of this one, obviously. But what is weird about this one, and you probably will remember it if you've seen it before, is she always gets this thick layer of dead skin, like a little circular area. You might just be able to see it in the distance, right on top of this false fundus. Now, sometimes it's ready to come out, sometimes it isn't. I think the last time I saw her, it wasn't, or it was a bit too thin, so it was a bit risky to try and peel it away. But she's come back, and it's a lot thicker this time. You see that circle in the distance, can't you? And but it was ready to come away this time. But it was more difficult than it usually is. And she does get quite a bit of relief when we peel away all this dead skin, because it really irritates her. Even peeling away the thinnest layers like I am doing there, it does make a big difference to her. She is very well known to my local ear, nose and throat department, who are very good, but which is very nice, where she chooses to come to see me. To see me to do this, because I don't think they're given as much time, to be honest. So they maybe, I mean, they'll do a great job, I am sure of that. But she says they don't tend to be afforded the time that you have, which is often the difference in private healthcare and public healthcare, unfortunately. So she's gonna carry on seeing me. So you probably will see this here again a few times because of how interesting it is. So this is just dead skin that's failing to shed on top of this false fundus. And when I first grabbed it, it was a bit reluctant to come away. So I think I had to use some oil. Now, I know what you're seeing in here is a nice, beautiful circular image, but as you've seen from when we're entering the ear and pulling things out of it, the entrance, it's like a letterbox. It's so narrow and tight to get into. It's difficult to get all these things in there to the right area. And you might see, it always makes me a little wary, this though, because obviously you can see the whole thing flex. And try to peel it away there, but I didn't want any healthy tissue to come off with that as well. So I think what I did is put some oil in and move to a slightly smaller tube, because I didn't want to cause any trauma or bleeding, which is what I've done now, and it did make a good difference. Now, I didn't peel. There are still a few thin layers of dead skin surrounding this. Didn't peel it all away, because sometimes it's not ready. When you lift one little bit up, which I think we did at the base of the ear canal after this comes out, it's just a bit red and a bit too fresh. So we did stop at that point. It's a weirdly satisfying one though when that comes out, which hopefully you'll agree. So you can see it's pink. So we're basically trying to aim for anything that looks white in there and peel it away. I think I've gone to an even smaller tube now to try and get this more delicate stuff away. And I think we do get a lovely peel here. Look at that. So satisfying, isn't it? But there does come a point in this, ladies, here where you have to say enough's enough. Don't risk any more than you need to. If you start seeing this thing flexing as you're touching it, you're like, maybe just ease back a bit. I think it was this point here where I tried to lift up a little bit of the white dead skin there, but it's so thin. And can you just see, it just looks a little bit pink and a bit red there at that little spot. So if I lifted that up, it might expose some skin that's a bit too fresh. So I think we decided to leave it at that point because we don't want to risk any unnecessary damage, trauma, or because you're so prone to infections as well. If you leave something there that's a bit too exposed, you might get an ear infection. So that's the reason why I left it at that point. It just looked a little bit, not angry, a little bit unhappy. The little reddened area underneath that very thin layer of dead skin. Right, this second patient in this one, and this chap, I think it was, is experiencing a bit of itching. He was a hearing aid user, and that explains why this is a bit deeper. I'm all about with this, probably a bit too long to be honest. I thought it was going to be quite easy, but what that deeper section is attached to is this stuff at the front here, which is very dry and very thick. I was quite surprised when I peeled this up, the big thick layer of dead skin. What you will notice, if you haven't already, is there's a watermark on this. Now occasionally I did used to do this. I keep forgetting, but I've made a point of putting a watermark on this. And a watermark is, you'll see it says, what does it say? Nurse Richard 44, and then the episode number of which episode it is. And I've started doing this because, as you know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, it really narks me when people nick your content and pass it off as their own. TikTok's terrible for this, and it's really difficult to it's a really long-winded process to report someone's content on TikTok, so I generally don't bother on that. YouTube's a little easier, still not easy, and a lot of people follow me. Thanks to those of you who do. This particular one came about by a subscriber called Erin, who said, by the way, did you know there's this channel that's using all your content? And it was on the big mastoid cavity that I did recently. And so I had a quick look at their channel. It was called Dr. Earwax Remover. And when I looked at it, nearly every single video was mine. And I thought, hang on a minute. And what they'd done, and I think they're clever this, they think I don't know this. The story does go on as well, because this person got in touch with me. Hello, if you're watching. And what they do to avoid, because whenever someone posts a video, if it's basically lifted from somebody else's page, they fiddle about with it a bit to make it avoid the algorithms picking it up as stolen content. And so what they do, they'll change the orientation, because the one I saw, it was all upside down, the ear to my procedure, and then they snip like the beginning and the ending, and then they'll put it on a background, lovely floral background, put some music along to it, and then put their own watermark on it and pass it off as their own. And so I had a look at these, and I filled in a few, I think I did three. I filled in three copyright infringement forms, which took a while, but personally I think it's worth it, because it really bugs me. Someone's trying to profit off your work. That's not right. And so I did that, and about half an hour after that, I went back to have a look at their channel, and there's no videos on it. They've all gone. So success, we managed it. And then the creator of that channel sent me an email. And it was a very apologetic one saying, oh, I'm so sorry. Would you please consider retracting, because they'd got a few followers, please consider retracting your copyright claim against this. I'm so sorry, innocent mistake, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I replied to it and I said, innocent mistake. I said, you must think I'm born yesterday that I don't realise that adding your own watermarks, changing the orientation of the ear, i.e. putting it upside down or inverting it or mirror imaging it. I said, those are all things that people do when they've lifted content from somewhere else, especially in ears. And I'm like, I'm not having it that that's an innocent mistake. And they sent me another one back saying, yeah, I appreciate that wasn't totally an innocent mistake. I do apologise. Would you consider retracting it, because it means essentially his channel could have been it's probably been shut down, because if you get, I think it's like 3 strikes you're out. So because I filled in 3, he might not have been allowed to post any content on. I don't know how that works, but he sent the following one saying, yeah, I admit that it wasn't totally innocent on my part. And I'm like, and then I replied, and he said, well, would you still consider retracting it? Just replied back, no. You said yourself, not an innocent mistake. So off you later. See you later, sunshine. Off you go. Thanks, but no thanks. So if anyone's considering using my material to make your own videos, think again. We have an army of weirdos who will hunt you down. They will find you and they will tell me, and we'll get it taken down. So thanks again to Erin for that. It does tickle me when we beat these guys. Anyway, I know I didn't talk much about that other ear, but I wanted to tell you that story because it tickled me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. But for now, take care of yourself, and I will see you soon. Ta-da.